old friends who played chess from New York. After the Francesco Bentaviglia video, I did a little research on on him, and I stumbled on information about a historical figure from the 1800s, Francesco Bentaviglia, who was born in Corleone. Corleone, Michele Corleone. We all know why that's a well-known reference. Um, So the Corleone, people don't know, Corleone was a place. It's a place in Sicily. So Francesco Bentaviglia was a Sicilian freedom fighter who was wanted to kill all the French people. They were called the Bourbons. They came in, they had so much power, and they were basically conquering Sicily. And he was like, "Look, let's kill them all." So there's a street there named after him from way back in the day. Unfortunately, there was a rat called I forget his first name, Signore Melone, Meloni, and he was a rat bastard who tattletaled on Bentaviglia, and because he was hiding out, he was hiding out in some friend's house, and ratted him out and killed him. Firing squad got him. So he's an important historical figure, and well, a couple centuries later, my good buddy Fide Master. So that's why I was thinking about history, and one of the important guys I hung out with on the street was Asa Hoffman, and we used to go play horses together and stuff. We play hustle on the street, and when the lunch rush was over and all the cats went back to work, we go run off, bet some horses. Horses was my first game. I was betting horses very young. I mean, I was introduced to horses as a child. Um, and then I was placing bets through a cab driver in, when I was like 12. I hit Sonny's Halo Desert Wine Exacta cold in 83. I think it was 83 for $10.40. That was the first money game, then pool, and then chess started 13. First tournament game at 14, and and then I met Asa probably when I was about 16, and we run off to the bookstore, we go to the OTV. Yeah, he's a buddy of mine for a while, oh, very long while, but I haven't seen him in a bit. Um, Another story that was funny was Asa would play anybody who was great if he got the right odds. So he's playing Shirazi with money odds, I think. But the Shirazi was really good back then. And he lost a ton of money to Shirazi over the years, I think. And then he won a session, and Shirazi couldn't pay him. So he told me that story. So I'm in Europe, I'm in Hungary, and who do I stumble upon? And is Shirazi, who actually I ended up hanging out with him. He's a totally cool guy. I guess he just didn't have the money to pay. That happens sometimes. So I said, "Yo, you owe Asa 300." You know, he's looked at me. He's like kind of spooked, and I said, "You got to pay, man. You got to pay." So he says, "I want to pay." He says, "I want to pay." I felt really bad about that. So he went to the bank. He got me money, and I guaranteed I give him. I went home. Asa had no idea. I stumbled into the marshal, and I give him his money, and I never saw him smile so big. Like he could have beat Karpov. He wouldn't have smiled like that. handed him 300. He was so happy. Anyway, that was a funny story. Okay, great player also, I gotta say. So let's just see what happened here. One of these things. Everything pretty normal. Nice solid position. Okie dokie. Me? I like to play a6 in these positions. Just so if they play a5, you can play b5. I'm not sure. A5 takes, but this looks like. Oh, that's clever. Bishop g5. You take on g5, he takes on d7. Maybe I will do that. I would take on g5, and maybe I will go rook b8. And if you take on a5, maybe I will go a6. If you take on a6, I take, and you take, and I go rook takes b2. I think I'm happy. What about take or take? Bishop c8 is also, you have to calculate because h3 is on. It's kind of hanging with a queen g2 mate, but he has queen takes d5 in that position. Then he can sort of just fade back. Bishop h3 might not be good because I wonder, like queen d5, um, queen d5, bishop h3, f4. Right, g2 is defended by the queen from d5. But I don't know because you have queen g3 in that position. You can't play rook f3 because queen g2 is made. You kind of, maybe that's something. I don't know. It's interesting anyway. But he didn't take it. But this is clear. This is clear edge for white now. All your pieces are better. Bishop stuck on g7. Knight b3, knight c5. Rooks are e1 or c1 as you like. Bishop on b7, a bit clumsy. b7's clumsy. g7's clumsy. Seems like clear advantage for white. This is nice. You can't take on a5. He takes on d7, and you move the rook, and he goes back to c5. Knight's still hanging on a5, which has to move, and then b7 will fall. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is boy, this is a big space advantage. Whatever you want to do. This one doesn't seem to be working. You take with rook, he takes. You take this one, these rooks are going to be here. You take this with check. Gotta respect the check. And then he trades queens, doubles your pawns, and plays bishop d5 and skewers the rook back. So you get your exchange back, you ruin the structure, and you pick up a pawn. See what I mean? So he didn't want to go for that. So he just decided to let him come back and try to clip a pawn. But now he just gets to consolidate and we play b4 and somehow the game is over. But I don't know. I don't know if that's real. He should play. This is no good. b4 because you take on c4 and check and go here and you win a piece. So perhaps the relay is wrong, or the guy just flagged. Maybe he just saw his flag was teetering, and he just made any move for him to fall. I don't know, but rook d4. And what do you think the eval is after rook d4? I mean, he's not. It's even pawns. It's two pieces for the rook, but unfortunately, like rook d4, you start thinking about how to bring the pieces back in the like coordinate everything. Rook d4. I would think it's only like a pawn and a half or like 1.7 or something, but I got news for you. Look at that. Now, if someone told you this was +3, you would say they were maybe on drugs. But if you go to analysis board, you begin to understand rook d4. That like you can come bishop here. You like safe all the pieces, and maybe you get to park the bishop on c3. Like black can't do anything. This is kind of the point. White is so super safe. Bishop c3, knight e, rook f4 with knight e4. This one gets a little tenderoni there. But if someone just showed you this position and said to you, "What's the eval?" Right? I don't think I would say it's over a piece. That's pretty cool. And Asa Hoffman, he played a great game here. Really, like all the moves were like super good, especially from this position on. And Agrest is a GM. Evgeny Agrest is a GM. Yeah, that was a really nice game. Well, that's Asa Hoffman. He's a legend. He's another one that could have been he could have been an IM. Like Francesco Bentavenia should be an IM. He has 7 IM norms. You just have to mellow out. You gotta relax. Asa Hoffman, he preferred, I don't know, he liked to gamble. Me, I was a drunk. So there are many avenues to get where you gotta go, but you sort of have to have some discipline. You have to have some discipline. Discipline is part of the skill. Because there were Emery Tate could have been a grandmaster. Emery Tate was very, very crafty character. He could have been a grandmaster. Some of his games were out of this world. But, you know, the discipline and the peace of mind. And there are some guys, some people, not going to say any names, that did make GM that weren't as talented as like a Jay Bonin. They weren't as good as Jay, but they made Grandmaster and he didn't. The Jay Bonin beat Komsky 3 times. Most Grandmasters can. There's several Grandmasters in the 2550 zone and below, or many of them that just crept over 2500 one time. They got 2501, 2502, 2503, whatever, and then they went right back down. I guarantee that Greg Shahadi was probably better than them. There were a lot of IMs who were good. Another one who was super, super, super good, Oleg Krivonosov. I have a video where I beat him, one of my videos, but he was very hard to beat. He had a monster plus score against me and basically everybody. And he was the toughest IM. I don't know how he didn't become a GM. It's sick. It's sick that some of these people made GM and Krivonosov didn't make GM. It's bananas to me. Anyway, Asa Hoffman, a lot of personality, uh, smart guy. Spent a lot of time with him on the street, and this is a beautiful game. All right, folks, I will talk more about New York people in the coming videos, and tell you about more life on with chess hustlers who were excellent chess players in reality. Later.